Hi there! In this video I will be showing a bunch of building tips for the game Windrose. As of making this recording I don't yet know how many, but I guess it will say in the title of the video. And I did absolutely not take a bunch of stuff from my kid's pirate themed birthday party to record this. Anyway, let's get started! There is a small selection of window flower boxes that you can buy the recipe for in Tortuga. There is a large selection of window flower boxes you can make yourself. And what you do is you use a seed bed. You sink it kind of halfway into the wall below the window, and now you can plant whatever you want in it that you can plant in a seed bed. Personally, I think the chili looks really good and the linen with the blue flowers look really great as well. You can also make it fit with the rest of the build. So what you do is you take beams, you take small wall parts, be it stone, be it wood, to give the flower box a very unique look. So you can make it pretty much look the way you want it to. Sometimes you might want your garden to be more natural or have a more natural feel and not everything planted in big seed beds. And there is a way to kind of hide most of the seed bed below ground. So what you need is some type of uneven surface. The trick is to point that little white circle against some surface that isn't a flat wall or the ground. Because if you point it at the ground, you will only be able to sink the seed bed kind of halfway down. But if you find an uneven surface and look around a bit, sometimes the seed bed or the object you are trying to place, it's not only goes for the seed bed, will kind of pop down into the ground. It still needs to stick up a little, because if it's almost or completely hidden below ground, you won't be able to plant there, but it's enough if it sticks up a few millimeters and you will be able to plant whatever you like in. A neat building trick that you can use that I actually brought with me from Enshrouded is making double walls or sometimes even triple walls. Sometimes you don't want the look on the inside to be the same as on the outside, so you can just free place wall parts on the inside of the wall, and then just need to free place one, and you can snap from that and build a different wall on the inside. It's also very useful if you have decorations from the outside sticking through the wall on the inside that you kind of want to hide. You can also use this trick to get different shapes for your windows. So you can pack them really tight together, and in the middle you take, for example, a beautiful glass stained window, and then the wall on the inside and outside you can shape, for example, in a half moon or even a rounded type of shape, or really any shape you like, and that way get a lot more unique types of windows. You can also modify existing building blocks to fit better with the overall aesthetic of your build. Take stairs, for example. When we talk about the steeper stairs, 45-degree stairs, you got the mahogany stairs that fit really well with kind of a villa type of thing, and the stick stairs that only fit for kind of a beach hut. But we don't have anything in between. Rustic, more rugged looking wooden stairs that would fit in a harbor building or a basement. But what we can do is we take the mahogany stairs and then we kind of put makeup on them by using wooden beams and other items to make them look more rugged and fit with your build. You can also make your own custom wooden railings. Early game is really nice because you don't have any railings, but you can still make your own ones using kind of the thin wooden beams or wooden pillars, sticks rather. But late game, it's still nice to make your own custom wooden railings, because it's not always the pre-made ones fit your build. Like in this case, for example, where I made that custom stairway out of mahogany stairs and different type of wooden beams. I wanted up on the veranda the railing there to fit with that. So I made the same type of railings also out of the same wooden beams to kind of fit the aesthetic I was going for. And same of course goes with the doors. If you have a door that would fit in your build but have the wrong type of frame, maybe you don't want all the details showing, maybe you want a different texture, maybe it's a stone frame and you want it in your wooden building, or the other way around, you can mask that as well by either using different types of pillars or different type of wall parts and put them tight together with free placing around the edges. For example, in this house I wanted the big doors into the basement area or into what will be like the storage area of the building, but I didn't want all the detailing around the door to show, so I hid it behind wooden beams. I also made the walls on the inside thicker to hide all the details there that I didn't want to show. I think for stone walls it actually makes sense to make them thicker and have double walls, because stone walls usually are a bit thicker, a lot thicker than wooden walls. And I also used the same trick up on these glass stained windows here. I masked all of the stone detailing with different wooden beams to make it fit with the wood panels on the side and the overall aesthetic of the build. And on that topic, you can also make your custom windows using wooden beams or wooden pillars. Both early game, when you don't really have access to many different types of windows, and the ones you got are, to be honest, kind of ugly looking. But also late game to fit different type of window shapes and make originally looking windows. Like, for example, this little triangle window I made on this showcase house. Did you know that you can actually attach structures to the invisible wall surrounding Tortuga? There is a lid on top of it as well, and you can build there, and it will look like the buildings are hanging in the air. I already covered this in a previous video, but maybe not everyone watching this video actually saw that video, so I thought it would be worth to mention. Another thing I also mentioned in that previous video, but it's a building tips, I think it kind of fits into this list as well, is that you can place the bell at any height above the ocean. So it only needs to be near the ocean, horizontally, not vertically. Same, even though it does not have to do with building, actually goes for calling your ship, and, funnily enough, for fishing. A lot of the building tips I show in this video, I actually discovered while making this house behind me. If you want me to do a step-by-step tutorial on how to build that house, let me know in the comment section below. It's not that complicated of a build, but it's still a 30-minute something video. Also, don't forget to like this video and maybe subscribe to the channel as well. I do a lot of crafting survival games and a lot of Let's Build videos. And with that said, let's continue. You can use the pier as floorboards for your first floor. It doesn't really work for the second and third floor because you will have all those big wooden pillars going down. But for the first floor, it's really nice if you either want a really rustic feel, like for a storage area, for example. I think it fits really well, or for a cellar. But also early game where you don't really have access to any other type of nice looking floorboard. Most of the builds I have seen using stone walls used wooden beams in the corner. But we are using wooden beams usually for the second and third floor if we have a third floor, and it's nice with some variation on the first floor. But what we can do is we use the stone blocks as corner pillars. So we free place those in the corner to make them stick out a bit, and it will look a lot more natural, and it's also kind of more realistic to have big stone blocks in the corners than having wooden beams. The structural support system in Windrose works in distance and not in building parts. What that means is that if you want to reach taller, use larger building blocks. So for example, the pillar works a lot better than the walls. A subscriber actually pointed out to me that you can put piers on top of each other to reach extremely high up. Here I've done it kind of sloppy, so they are overlapping a lot, but if you put them neatly together, utilizing kind of the max height of them, you can reach extremely high up. And the same goes for if you want to build horizontally, like a big bridge or something like that. You can reach further horizontally without touching the ground using larger building blocks. And the best one I found for that is the triangular wall with 13-degree inclination, because it's really long. So you can put those together to reach pretty much twice as long as using normal floor pieces. The structural stability seems to be the same for going horizontally as going upwards, and that's about 22 parts long, independent if you're going up or sideways. You can also make yourself a basement for the house. It's kind of limited how far down you can dig, so you can't make it several floors or stories down into the ground, but it's enough to build at least one floor downwards. You can't do it close to the beach though, because then it will be an indoor pool instead, because close to the beach it will be water as soon as you kind of dig down just a little bit. An alternative use of digging down into the earth is to hide your bonfire if you don't want it to show. You can even hide it below water, it will still work just fine, and then cover it up with floorboards or different type of stone foundation. Because we can't dig down as far as previously mentioned, some smoke will still show, however, so you will have to mask that with maybe putting the fireplace on top. A kind of weird design decision is that you cannot place down decorations outside of bonfire range. You get kind of a error message popping up and it doesn't let you place them. I guess the developers didn't really imagine how big some players would want to build, and obviously if you build a really big base, you might want decorations also outside of the area where you actually do your production and kind of gameplay elements. But what you can do is you move your bonfire around as you build, because the decorations does not disappear. One warning though, when you move your bonfire, you will have to reassign. If you have any NPCs working at your working stations, you will have to reassign those. Although it's not really a building tip or building trick, I really want to highlight how useful the click and drag to build several of the same types in a row is for building. Not really for building large surfaces, because unfortunately if you drag too big, you can't really backtrack, so you have to let go, build all of the things and then remove stuff manually. But to reach stuff where stuff doesn't snap, but where you want stuff to actually snap and build. Like for example, close to the ground, if you have a basement going against the ground and you have a little something down to where the sand or the grass starts, you can't really get something to snap below it, which is really annoying. So it looks like the building is hovering a little bit above the sand, and that doesn't really look good at all. But if you start a bit higher up and drag down, there is no problem dragging the building down in the sand, so you get cover of the building all the way down to the surface. And same goes if you, for example, want to snap something behind an object. For example, you want a wall to fit tightly towards some other object and go behind it, and you can't really get anything to snap. Well, start a bit more to the left or right hand side and just drag all of the building blocks in, like behind whatever you can't really see to snap. So these building tips have to do with beamwork when you are building and how stuff naturally snap together, and the way they snap together is actually not the best way it can look. Because if you make a wooden beam and then you place floorboard or snap floorboard to the build or to your parts, it will snap in the middle of the beam. So you will have part of the beam below the floorboard and part of the beam above the floorboard. And if you have two beams crossing each other, they will not be on top of each other, but rather kind of go through each other. And that's normally not how you place floorboards. You place floorboards on top of the beam. You don't put it in like the middle of the beam. So there's a simple way where you can kind of elevate the floor a bit to get kind of to the level where it's actually resting on top of the beam instead of in between it. So what you do is you place one floorboard that snaps to the beam in the middle. Then you turn off snapping and free place a bunch of them right on top of the first one until you reach the desired level. Then you can remove the ones that are below the upper one, and then you can just start snapping your floor to the new one on top. The benefit of this is that it will look great from below if it's like in the basement and you see the wooden beams in the ceiling, and as well on top where you just have the floorboards and not like half beams sticking up everywhere. Considering how many different type of wall materials we can play around with, it's kind of weird that we lack so much variety in terms of roof pieces, especially in like the 45-degree inclination. The only roof type that we got kind of a lot of different parts from is the palm leaf one, the first one. But for the more advanced type of roof, like the store roof for example, we lack a lot of variety. But you can still get different types of shapes by being a bit creative. For example, you can use beams to create nice curved extensions at the edge of the roof, or patch the 45-degree store roof together to create a 45-degree roof, and you can mask the uneven edges by putting beams there as barge boards. By the way, do you have any great building tips that you feel I didn't showcase in this video? Please share it in the comment section below. And with that, I wish you fair winds and Godspeed.